Platinum. In this video, we are going to be doing an activity to understand associative property more intuitively. In the last video, we have seen associative property for whole numbers, integers and rational numbers. We have taken a few examples and we have done the calculations to see which of the mathematical operations are associative for which of the four sets, right? Now here, we have seen that a few mathematical operations are associative over all the four sets, whereas some are not associative for any of the four sets. Now I want you to understand this more intuitively. Let us see. So here I have got some pistachio shells with me, right? And we are going to consider the set of whole numbers, right? Because we are looking at the set of number of pistachio shells, I have to take the whole numbers. Okay, so let us start. Let me put the heading. Associativity, right? Now here I am checking associativity for the set of whole numbers. Okay, and now first I will be checking for addition. Okay, let us take the same three elements that we have taken. 5, 3 and 2. So what do we mean by associative property for addition? 5 plus 3 plus 2, A operation, B operation, C, and here it is 5 plus 3 plus 2. Now by hand I need to check whether the result for these two is the same or not, right? So now here let us represent the element 5 with 5 shells, right, and then 3 shells and then 2 shells. Now for the second case, again I am taking 5 shells and then 3 shells, right, and then 2 shells. Now in the first case, first I am going to consider the bracket, that is 3 plus 2. So what am I going to do here? I am going to add these two together, right? Whereas in the second case, first I am going to consider the bracket in which I have got 5 plus 3. So I am going to add these two together, right? So this is what I have. So if you look at the calculation also, what we had done here is I have 5 plus 5 here, and whereas here I have got 8 plus 2, right? We've got the same thing even in our activity. Now what are we going to do in the first case? I am going to add 5 to the result over here. Okay. Whereas in the second case I am going to add 8 to the, I am going to add 2 to the result here. So now you can see that clearly, no matter in the order in which you add the given elements, you will always get the same result for the given set of elements A, B, C, right? So you can see clearly that addition is associative for the set of whole numbers here. Now let's move on to the set of let's move on to the operation subtraction. Okay, so here if I have subtraction, what is the first set going to look like? 5 minus 3 minus 2. Whereas this is 5 minus 3 minus 2, right? Okay. So let's come back to our shells here. What do we have? I have 5 elements and I have 3 elements and then 2 elements here. 5, 3 and 2, right? So in the first case, what we are going to do is, out of 3 I am going to subtract 2. Okay, out of 3 I am going to subtract 2. Whereas in the second case, out of 5 I am going to take away 3. Okay, now I have something left as a result of this, right? So if you look at the calculation also, you will see that here first I will simplify the bracket, so I have 1 here, whereas here I have 2 inside the bracket, right? Now what is our next step? In the first case, from 5, I am going to subtract whatever is the result. Here the result is 1, so I am going to subtract 1 from 5. So this is my final answer. Whereas in the second case, I am going to subtract 2 from whatever result I have inside the bracket. So here I have 2. So if I take away 2 shells from here, I am left with nothing, right? So here you will see that clearly in the first case we have the answer 4, whereas in the second case nothing. So here you can see intuitively that subtracting, taking 2 away from 3 and then taking the result away from 5 is different from taking 3 away from 5 and then subtracting 2 from that result. You can clearly see that in the first case I am left with 4 shells, whereas in the second case I am left with no shells, 0 shells, right? So here we had concluded that subtraction is not associative for the set of whole numbers, right? Now let's come to multiplication. So how does it look for multiplication? I have 5 into 3 into 2 and here I have 5 into 3 into 2, right? So let us take our shells again. I have 5. In the first case I have, let me first try to explain what is inside the bracket. I have 3 times 2, right? So what do we mean by 3 times 2? I am going to take set of 2 and I have 3 times of that. So I have to repeat it 3 times. Now this is 3 times 2, right? Whereas in the second case, I have 5 times of 3. What do we mean by 5 times of 3? I have this set of 3. I have to repeat it 5 times, right? So I am going to repeat it 5 times because I am saying 5 times 3. 5 into 3 is 5 times 3. So I have it 1, 2, 3, 4 and one more time. So this is 5 times 3, right? Now what do we have in our calculation? Here if you look at the bracket, I have 3 times 2, 6 and here I have 15 into 2, right? So I have 15 here and I have 6 here. So if you look at our shells also, you'll see that here I've got 6 and here I've got 15, right? So now what is the next step in the first case? In the first case, I am going to repeat this 5 times. So whatever is the result here, I have to repeat it 5 times, right? So let me quickly do that here. This is 2 times and then this is 3 times and then this is 4 times, right? And then I have this is 5 times. I have to repeat it 5 times. So this is what I've got, right? So this is 5 times of whatever is inside the bracket in the first case. Whereas in the second case, whatever I have inside the bracket, I have to repeat it twice. So I need one more such set. Okay. So I'm going to quickly make that set, repeat that set. Right? So I have got that set twice. So this is nothing but 15 into 2, right? So now you will see that although the order or the manner in which we have done the calculation is different because of the placement of the brackets, you will see that the final answer is going to be the same. If you count the shells here, you will be getting the answer as 30, and in this case also you are going to get the number of shells as 30. So here you will see that multiplication is associative for the set of whole numbers, right? Now let's come to division. Okay, so for the sake of division, I am going to take different elements here because I am considering whole numbers and I want the result of each of the divisions, each of these calculations to be a whole number. Okay, so I am going to take the elements as 8, 4, 2. So first I will look at 8 divided by 4 divided by 2 and compare it with 8 divided by 4 divided by 2, right? So let us look at this. So in the first case, 4 divided by 2, what do we mean by that? First of all, I have 4 shells, okay? And I am going to divide these 4 shells, put them in 2 baskets equally, right? I am dividing it by 2. So I am going to place them one by one, right? So I am going to get the answer as 2. The result is 2. In the second case, I am going to start with 8 shells, right? And I have to divide it by 4. That is, I have to put it into 4 equal baskets in equal amounts, right? So as you can see, this is my first case and here I have 8 shells, right? So I'm going to put them in these rings, baskets, whatever you call them. You just simply try to distribute them equally. So when I distribute them equally, each ring is going to have 2 shells, right? Now here, in the first case, what are we going to do? After this, I am going to look at 8 divided by 2, right? And here I am going to look at 2 divided by 2. Okay, so let us come back to our first case. Now here I have 8 shells. I have 8 shells, right? And I am going to divide these 8 shells into 2 different rings because my answer from the bracket, I have got the answer as 2. So again I am going to divide the 8 shells equally. I have to divide them, right? Whereas what is happening in the second case, I have the result inside the bracket as 2, right? Now I am going to divide these 2 into between 2 rings, right? So I am going to get a single shell. So you can see that the answer in the first case is 4, whereas the answer in the second case is 1. You can see here, even in the calculation, I got 8 divided by 2 is 4, whereas 2 divided by 2 is 1. So here you can see that division depends on the placement of the brackets. So where the brackets are placed is going to determine what your final answer is going to be. Clearly, the division is not associative for the set of whole numbers, right? So in the next video, we are going to be discussing the distributive property, the role of 0 and the role of 1.